so they would consume. But the infrastructure for distribution is not there. The infrastructure for distribution for unemployment is broken on purpose in all of the states, underfunded on purpose, and literally as difficult as possible with additional checks on top of everything else now. Like before, if you could say that you got unemployed during the COVID crisis and you said you got unemployed because of COVID, that was fine. Boom. In some states, you could be eligible for unemployment insurance. Right? Now you have to get a doctor's note. Now you have to get additional in order to justify additional spending. You need to go out and bring in additional documentation. All of that is done in a way that holds up the system even further. And the reason why they do it is so that it is as hard as possible for you, a perhaps recently unemployed person, unemployed as a consequence of COVID, to it's so that it's as difficult as possible for you to get the money that you need so that you can turn around and spend that money on goods that you need to consume to survive. But those goods then ultimately, that's ultimately a good thing because then it keeps this economic engine running. So while the stimulus package overall was mid, as I've said before, below average, below expectations, below what was necessary, I guess the good part of it was that Republicans didn't push too hard on liability, like business liability, which seems like something that they, I guess, pushed forward exclusively as like a bargaining chip so they could justify spending less on it, less on you. And that's it. So the $600 isn't necessarily about saving anyone's life or anything like that. And by the way, this is a fucking stupid, very stupid way of looking at this. And of course, it's because he is a libertarian that he has this mentality. 600 times 328 million is 196.8 billion. This is a bill for 900 billion. Guess who's getting the other 700 billion? Okay, well, you're a fucking idiot then. Because there's a better breakout of these funds than just saying like you only get 196 billion and then the rest is all the corporations and the wealthy or some shit. No, you could have said that about the first CARES Act for sure, because a lot of that was a corporate stimulus. But you can't really say that about this one. And the reason why you can't really say that about this one is because most of the funds that aren't going to direct relief to the American people are still going to are not going to state and local governments, which is bad. And the Democrats should have fought harder for that because those systems certainly need it. I think we have more than 1 million public employees that have been fired or are now unemployed as a consequence of state and local government funds running out, and that is transportation, that's firehouses, it's cops. These are public sector employees that play fundamental roles. It's easy to say these are just bureaucrats and they're fucking bullshit and they're fuck them, but it's more than that, right? So basically, while there isn't state and local funds added into this bill, there are a lot of hyper targeted funds that are in the bill, specifically going to transportation, specifically going to schools, specifically going to COVID relief initiatives. So
Hassle.
it's wrong to just say, oh, like we only got, 196 billion of this entire bill. That's dumb. Don't be dumb is what I'm saying. Be smart about it. A fuckload of it is still going to the PPP program. And that program in and of itself can be very useful and very helpful if you're actually a small business that's using it appropriately. But oftentimes it's abusive or abused rather. And the reason why it's abused is because, of course, small businesses are going to fucking take advantage of it, or big businesses are going to take advantage of it any way they can, and not necessarily to fucking pay their employees. Anyway. Wait, what? Biden on the hacks. We already saw that. We already saw some of that.
Of your son come up in
giving me an awful case of the cummy tummies again today, Daddy. Love you,
No, I guarantee you, I'm going to do what I said. The Attorney General of the United States of America is not the president's lawyer. I will appoint someone who I expect to enforce the law as the law is written, not guided by me.
Thank you, sir. The issue of the investigation.
I think we owe Bernie Sanders and his Republican colleagues thanks for not getting all the stimulus. What?
I think, by the way, I think we owe Bernie Sanders and his Republican colleagues thanks for getting not all the stimulus we looked for, 1,200, but getting 600 done. So
yeah, no, he's actually saying like
numbers.
Bernie and the Republicans, Bernie and his Republican colleagues, I think he's talking about Josh Hawley, were staunch advocates for 1,200. So he's like individually thanking Bernie and Hawley for advocating for that, advocating for the direct cash.
I think you're seeing that there is a clear understanding that these issues go beyond any ideology.
Yeah, I think it's still dumb to fucking thank Republican colleagues. Just single out Hawley, who is a piece of shit otherwise, but no, he's not being sarcastic.
People are desperately hurting, and the Republicans are hurting as badly as Democrats. There are a few people, and I'm not saying they're responsible for any of this, a few people are doing extremely well in that K-shaped recovery. And
there are not a few people that are doing extremely well. Here's the reality. If you look at how those direct relief, how these funds have been spent thus far, the people that are doing well are middle-class Americans who are saving a lot at this moment. The people that are doing are upper middle-class Americans. The people who are doing remarkably well are wealthy Americans. Poor Americans are fucked. They're super fucked. And they're fucked in a way that is beyond repair. Like, they are fucked in a way where we are staring down the barrel of a gun in the form of an eviction crisis that is going to destroy this economy. I don't know how the fuck we're going to get over it. Like, either landlords and small landlords and not necessarily like fucking private equity, because they'll always be fine. I'm sure they've hedged their bets against all of these people not paying their rent and getting evicted already. But a lot of like middle income, middle class Americans that have like a nest egg or some shit in a single fucking house or are going to be fucked over. But most importantly, other than that, a lot of poor people are going to be fucked over as a consequence of no direct relief and no end in sight to this game that we're playing currently with rent payments. Like, there are people in this community that are like, hey, if my landlord does not forgive my rent, like, it's over for me. Like, I'm gonna get kicked out of I'm gonna get evicted. It's gonna ruin my fucking credit score. It's gonna ruin my chances of ever getting another house ever again, or renting another apartment ever again. So The other part of it is that this is a 6,000-page bill, as always, similar to the tax cuts, by the way, that no one read and voted yes on because they knew like the top line, I guess, energy of what the bill represented. So there's that side of it as well. It's great. And I will not be reading it as well. I'm just reading summarizations of it, of course, because that would be psychotic. Don't be crazy. Biden's really using his press conference to lean into the idea that when it comes to coronavirus response to help hurting Americans, he believes he can work with Republicans. He can't. This is foolish.
Given the narrow majorities in the House and Senate, you've watched many administrations come and go. Do you believe that you will have a honeymoon to get things accomplished?
I don't think it's a honeymoon at all. I think it's a nightmare that everybody's going through, and they all say it's got to end. It's not a honeymoon. They're not doing me a favor. I'll ask you a rhetorical question I don't expect you to answer. And that is, do you think that Republicans who are losing their businesses, do you think Republican constituents out there who can't pay their mortgage, do you think they're not letting their Republican representatives know they got a problem? Do you think the person who just lost a family member and is worried about losing another one who happens to be a Republican, a staunch Republican, isn't telling his or her Republican senator or state representative, you've got to help, you've got to get something done? Do you think all those people who are making judgments of whether or not my child will be able to go to school and I have to stay home and I can't go to work, therefore I have no income, are all Democrats? I think there's just been a dawning here. And look, you have a different team in town. You have a different team in town. I'm not going to villainize the opposition, but I'm going to stand.
Yeah, that's dumb. Especially because, like, the opposition doesn't give a fuck. Like, they are not even remotely interested. As a matter of fact, it goes against their best interest to even work with you. Like it's literally the opposite. It's worse off if they work with you. So they're not going to, and they haven't. And the only reason why they did in this relief and this second iteration was because of Georgia. They wanted to eliminate that as a talking point that like Republicans are standing in front of you in getting $600. Now, the political side of this that looks bad to the average stupid person who doesn't pay attention to politics because they're normal. And actually, shouldn't even say stupid. They're just normal human beings with no brain rot and brain poisoning, is that, you know, under Donald Trump's leadership, I got $1,200. His name was on the check. Now that I'm getting Joe Biden's presidency, I'm only getting $600 and a fuckload of gridlock. There was a lot of gridlock under Trump too, but I guess that was because of Nancy Pelosi, because that's what the Republicans are always saying, versus the Democrats are not making it as clear that like Republicans are the ones who are stopping this from happening, because that would be too divisive. And this is a president that loves bipartisanship. So when you say we're going to work with Republicans, like, you're either going to work as a Republican or you're not going to work with Republicans. That's just the reality. Mitch McConnell knows in some ways that Joe Biden will work like a Republican, and that's why he's not too worried about offering this breadcrumb to him as a starting gift. That's why he was smiling fucking ear to ear on Fox News the other day. Anyway.
Next year. Would you consider filing for re-election early next year to show that you're not going to be a lame duck?
I'm not going to be a lame duck. Just watch me. Just watch me. I've been saying.
Would you consider
said is suspected of carrying out this massive cyber hack. You said it happened under President Donald Trump's watch, but of course in January 21, it will then of course land on your doorstep. My question is, what are the...
Let's get something straight. Will land on my doorstep. His failure will land on my doorstep.
Yes.
Okay.
What are Russia...
Yeah, okay.
As you...
Well, it's over now, but anyway, so there's a lot of misinformation around the stimulus, of course, as there usually is. And one of that is, you know, the amount of aid that's given, like Israel and all this other stuff that people have been talking about, including myself in some of the memes that I posted on my Instagram about the stimulus. And the problem here is it's tacked on to an omnibus spending bill. So the entire spending bill is like, I think about like 3.4 trillion or something like that. I don't know what the exact number is. I can't remember now. But the COVID-19 recovery or relief or stimulus part of that is only $900 billion. Oh, it's 2.3 trillion. Okay. So all the other additional spending that you're seeing is just regular government stuff, or because it's an omnibus, there's like, random shit like Tom Tillis's lobbyist-backed, lobbyist-backed provision that he added in there, like the controversial legislation revolving felony streaming, illegal streaming. If you've seen panic posts on social media claiming everyone's going to be arrested for putting Dua Lipa tracks behind their Twitch streams, you can rest easy. While the entertainment industry, parts of it at least, can find interesting ways to exploit any new law, the letter of the Tillis law does not target individuals who are streaming on Twitch, YouTube, or any other big streaming services. Even if they're streaming copyrighted stuff without a license, it only targets, and the wording is quite explicit about this, people who provide a streaming service that is solely dedicated to making money off of streaming copyrighted stuff without a license. No, the law isn't the wording isn't explicit about this, by the way. The wording is vague enough. I disagree. At least what I've seen. The wording is vague enough that it allows some fucking copyright lawyer demons to absolutely target individuals if they want to. Now, none of that matters anyway, because platforms themselves are the ones who punish the content creators. Platform themselves do not want any sort of liability. So the DMCA system is like, Content ID is a system that YouTube itself created so that they're like, hey, this is a platform, you deal with it, we're hands off. You go and prosecute or persecute streamers or YouTubers that are cheating the copyright law individually. Here, we'll offer you the technology to do it. Twitch doesn't have a similar tech as it stands. I think other companies have created their own. Other companies have created their own way of tracking every individual stream and what they do. So basically, we don't know what Twitch will do. But if they wanted to, the wording on this is so vague that they could technically target streamers if they wanted to. Specifically, to be convicted under this law, you'd have to be shown an offer or provide a digital transmission service that's primarily designed or provided for streaming unlicensed material and which has no commercially significant purpose beyond streaming that unlicensed material, which is marketed as such. So it shouldn't mean anything for Twitch or streamers, or even Twitch itself. However, if you can run a site called ultrastreams5431.biz, which is dedicated to making money by illegally broadcasting UFC fights, you could be convicted of a crime punishable with a fine and a maximum of 3 or 5 years of jail time, depending on certain conditions for a first offense. As a general matter, we do not need for further criminal penalties for copyright infringement, said Meredith Rose, Senior Policy Counsel for Open Internet Advocacy Group Public Knowledge. However, this bill is narrowly tailored and avoids criminalizing users who may do nothing more than click on a link or upload a file. It also does not criminalize streamers who may include unlicensed works as a part of their streams. While the bill specifically targets those who offer services dedicated to unlicensed streaming, not any individual who happens to stream a bit of unlicensed music on Twitch is an example. The fact remains that a type of criminal copyright infringement with potential jail time for offenders is being defined here, and there may be ramifications we don't expect, such as an unusual interpretation of the bill's wording. Exactly. Or that go beyond the bill itself, such as an increase in legislation like this. Exactly. It's not cause for alarm. Some of the more hyperbolic claims going around would have you believe, but some cause for alarm nonetheless. What you're more likely to notice, though, is case. Much broader change to the U.S. copyright law comes from case, which was first introduced in 2017 and stands for the Copyright Alternative in Small Claims Enforcement. It was passed with this big spending bill, too. The Case Act creates a new small claim system in the U.S. that allows copyright holders to pursue damages for copyright infringement without filing a federal lawsuit. So they are setting up arbitration similar to how corporations engage in internally when you have like any sort of dispute that you basically sign off on, where there will be a new small claims court that will most likely favor the corporation over the individual that they are targeting. Hold on. And could involve no more than $15,000 per work infringed upon and $30,000 total. Some hit with a Case Act claim could, if they're on top of things, opt out of the system, which would mean the copyright holder would have to make a federal case out of it, which they may not care to do. It's not arbitration, it's administrative law court. No, I'm saying that the outcomes that this will yield will be similar to what you see in arbitration. I don't know. I don't have an example of what to compare it to in the real world. I don't have enough knowledge of like different kinds of small claim systems. Like family court. Okay? Is that better? Is that a better descriptor? Like that someone can fucking understand? Or like fucking housing court. I do not have I am not a doctor of law. I do not have a doctorate in law. So, no. What happened, guys? You don't like it when chat's not on screen? It feels better for me, though, overall. Yeah, I like it. I think I'm going to keep doing this a little bit more, actually, as a matter of fact. Anyway, I look at it every now and then, but it feels better this way. I think I might start doing this more and like relying on chat less and speaking to chat less. Probably keeps the flow going a little bit better of the content. Small copyright claims tribunal proposed by the Case Act would be an equitable and affordable option for graphics artists with small copyright infringement cases, wrote the Graphics Artists Guild National President Laura Kisielewska last year. The solution that is long overdue for individual creators and small copyright holders for whom copyright has too often been a right without remedy. I don't think that this is what's going to happen. I think what's going to end up happening is abuse by this court. Just the nature that this court exists will be used by corporations, and very rarely small fucking graphics designers are going to end up using this in a way to win back some fucking damages or something like that. I don't know. I don't know if it'll work this way. I don't feel like it'll work this way. Anyway. So, and is a necessary correction to a system in which infringers have been able to act without impunity. Case is also supported by the Recording Academy. Opponents of case, such as the EFF, say that it would be a disaster for normal internet users. The Case Act could mean internet users facing 30,000 penalties for sharing a meme or making a video, wrote the EFF earlier this month. It has no place in must-pass legislation. It doesn't. And it would never stand alone on its own individual merits, and that's precisely why it had to be snuck in. The EFF's take is that someone who uses the internet in a typical manner without necessarily making any money off their participation in social media could be hit with case claims just for sharing memes or using copyrighted music in a video. The only way out would be to respond to the Copyright Office in a very specific manner within a limited time period, writes the EFF. Regular internet users, those who can't afford the 30,000 small claims board can force you to pay, will be the ones most likely to get lost in the shuffle. Exactly. The internet is no longer the anarchist paradise that it once was envisioned as. It is now a space that you have to operate as like every fucking person is an individual small business. Every single person that creates even a second of content, whether it's monetized or not, doesn't matter, is now subject to CNN levels of scrutiny if someone wants to. Which sucks. I think it inhibits growth and it inhibits creativity. I don't like it. I'm not a fan of it at all. But it doesn't matter. Just like net neutrality was a big deal and then it didn't matter. It mattered fuck all. Your voice does not matter. None of it matters. You do whatever the fuck they want. Because we have no vehicle to push back. We have no way to actually fight back against this sort of shit. And politicians can do whatever the fuck they want, basically. So on the one hand, you have frustrated creators who feel they have no recourse when larger entities use their copyrighted work without their permission. Sometimes, for instance, you'll see a fashion company rip off the work of an independent illustrator. And on the other hand, you have the fears that these tribunals will be abused, especially by larger copyright holders, such that $30,000 claims are chucked to people who may not know how to respond to them. And the argument goes, if small creators try to use case in a legitimate way to challenge corporations, the corporations will simply opt out anyway. There you go. And that's how a small graphics design illustrator dude will not be able to use this system to their benefit, especially in that scenario that you were talking about where small graphics designer guy is upset at big H&M for stealing their design and going along with it, wants to sue them and take the case, like the small claims court. They can't. They're like, no, you got to take it up to the federal. You got to take it up to the federal courts, in which they can pummel a fuckload of cash, as they would have even in the small claims court. You know. Anyway, yes, Congress didn't have time to read the bill. Of course they haven't had time to. I've been in the Senate now for 10 years. This is by far the longest bill that I've ever seen, he said in a video on Twitter, Mike Lee. One of the things that's extraordinary about this is that because of the length, it's impossible that anyone will have the opportunity to read it. I mean, most of these laws never get read anyway. Like, the argument for why lobbyists exist literally revolves around the fact that, like, congresspersons don't have time or the know-how, the technical know-how to comprehend what's in these bills. That's why you need specialists and special interest people to come in and write the bills and tailor it for them.
Hey, just remind.
Anyway, Gavin Newsom picked Alex Padilla to fill Kamala Harris's Senate.
Because I remember, I was just thinking, it's a hell of a time when you want to pick up the phone and call your mom or dad. I mean, we're all this has been a hell of a time. But you lost your mom, what, a couple of years ago, right?
Yeah, 2 years ago. So,
and what your mom and dad came from, remind me, I mean, they literally came both from Mexico.
Yeah, no, it's a story I'm proud of. They actually came separately. They met in Los Angeles. But yeah, they fell in love and applied for green cards.
Can you imagine what mom would be thinking now as I ask you if you want to be the next U.S. Senator of the United States, the great state of California?
You serious?
This is the official, this is the ask, brother.
I'm honored, man. And I'm humbled because of them. I can't tell you how many pancakes my dad flipped or eggs he scrambled, trying to provide for us, or into the many, many years of my mom cleaning houses, doing the same thing. So I try so hard to make sure that our democracy is as inclusive in California as we built, and to help us.
When I think of inclusive democracies, I think of California.
An important perspective to bring to Washington.
You're going to have that chance, Alex. I'm honored. You got to say yes, though, man.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I just want to say thank you. And please know I will make you proud and make California proud by getting it done in the U.S. Senate. We've got a lot of work to do, and I'm ready.
So if you ask me, like, what do you think about Alex Padilla's background? I don't have enough info to give you. Like, I can't get upset at this or get mad. I know that a lot of people wanted, I mean, I don't really care about the fucking, the crying and stuff. It's like a little, it's whatever. It's like, it's marketing. They're going to do that. They're doing that because it's marketing. Don't think that they're doing that because, I mean, even if it's genuine, it's still for fucking marketing purposes. Like that convo is taking place. That convo is taking place on a Zoom session. I mean, there are K-Hive members that are upset. Or like there are Kamala Harris K-Hive members that are sad because Barbara Lee didn't make it. Which is funny because, again, like Barbara Lee would have been great, I guess, but like you don't really have a fucking opportunity to take any congressional seats at this stage. Like, you can't really take away anyone from Congress at this stage, considering that no, there were people that wanted Barbara Lee, and who else? There was another, let's see. There were like people that were upset. Like, people were mad that a black woman is not selected for this position or something. I don't know. Because Kamala Harris is a black woman. So they were just like, this seat needs to be replaced by Karen Bass or... Yeah, it was Karen Bass is another person that people were talking about. Some people were saying Ro Khanna. Ro Khanna is not a black woman. Progressives were saying Ro Khanna would be good. Gavin Newsom didn't keep the seat, so now black women are not in the U.S. Senate. Black women won't forget when you make your presidential run, Newsom, and don't come over here with the POC solidarity stuff, folks. POC solidarity can now happen at the black woman's expense. That's all. Yeah, these people are so fucking dumb. I'm sorry. You're a fucking dumbass. Like you're so stupid. I'm sick and tired of this shit. Like, this is so fucking dumb. Like, it's like unironically turning me into a reactionary. Like, oh fuck, my battery level's critical on my mouse. Like, I'm losing my fucking mind at this. It's like, a black woman needs to be replaced by another black woman. Like, what's happening? Like, what the fuck are these liberals doing? Like what are they doing? What do they think? Like, how does this fucking work? Yeah, put Candace Owens, dude. Put Candace Owens in that seat. She's a black woman too. Like, it sometimes works in favor of progress, like Deb Haaland, first Native American, appointed to a cabinet position if she gets voted in, of course. So that's good. But it's like 98% of the scenarios, it revolves around 98% of the fucking scenarios revolves around, like, please put a neoliberal here as long as they're like black, or as long as they're brown, or as long as they're a woman. That's fine. That's progress. I mean, John Delaney literally fucking gave the game away. My king, John Delaney, who, if you remember, had a very, very unsuccessful run for the president in the Democratic primaries, as, you know, someone who benefits greatly from the insurance industry and its maintenance and its continuance. He ran for president specifically to fucking strap a suicide bomb onto his chest and like blow up Medicare for All combos. He recently deleted a tweet that he had about how, you know, Washington, D.C. doesn't really do anything. So in order to get young people activated, we got to put more black people in positions of power. Like, it's good. I'm glad that Joe Biden is putting, you know, black and brown faces in high places, because Washington, D.C. doesn't do shit anyway. But this is the way that, you know, people get excited. It's so dumb. Like, someone's background and experience is only as important as their worldview. You have a shitload of black and brown people that are rugged individualist neoliberals that don't really do much for the black and brown people that they are supposed to represent. It does not matter. And it's so fucking silly. In theory, it's supposed to matter. The reason why people look for diversity in board positions, and the reason why people look for inclusivity and diversity as important aspects to go after, is because when you are from a black background, you have a better understanding of the marginalization that black people go through. If you're a woman, you have a better understanding of how women are marginalized. That guides your point of view. That guides your worldview. And therefore, when that guides your worldview, you have a better approach to uplifting said communities. As a progressive, I believe in that. Unfortunately, though, oftentimes it's just the same kind of neoliberal ideology with very little interest in greatly improving the material conditions of said marginalized communities, or eradication of said form of oppression or marginalization. It's really dumb. Really stupid. Like, and it tilts me to no end. Who cares? I mean, who fucking cares? The second part of this that's really annoying and upsetting is the lack of solidarity, even from the pure idpol point of view. Like, if identity politics is all you care about, if you know, filling that seat with like a person of color is all you care about, then you can't turn around and be like, yeah, this is fucking bullshit because this person is a brown man, like he's Latino, and that fucking sucks. a position occupied by a black woman needs to fucking be occupied by a black woman in permanence, in perpetuity. Get the fuck out of here. So stupid. No one also believes this. Like, no one even unironically believes this either. You are stuck on this, buddy? Yeah, it's not as like... It's not as irrelevant because while these are marginal positions, what if that black woman was a lefty, though? You would like that? Of course I would like that. Of course I would like that if that black woman was a lefty. Yeah, do you not recognize that? Do you not understand what the big difference there is? That's the point. The point is not what your background is, but what you fucking advocate for. It's so weird when you're like an anti-intersectionality identity politics liberal. Like, the fuck are you doing? That's my point, by the way. For those of you who have not understood, I don't give a fuck if someone is black, brown, white. Doesn't matter. As long as they are progressive, that's what I care about. Do I believe that a black person is going to have a better point of view and better lived experience that allows them to be a better representative for black people in a position of power? Of course I do. But unfortunately, what happens in fucking theory doesn't necessarily happen in practice. Okay? It doesn't. There are some incredible black and brown congresspersons and politicians that I love. And there are some fucking trash ones that I despise. But that doesn't stem from the color of their skin. It stems from their worldview and their ideology. And not only that, but again, this destroys solidarity. It turns into the racist memes that Republicans fucking advocate for. So if you want to put your money where your fucking mouth is on just, black faces in high spaces, then put Candace Owens up there. She's a black woman. And Donald Trump is not racist. You put Ben Carson in the HUD. That's a doctor, too. That's Dr. Ben Carson. Terrible argument? How is that a terrible argument when that's literally the argument that you're fucking making? Like, it brings no consideration to fucking... It absolutely brings zero consideration to fucking, like, what this person's advocacy is, what this person's background is, what they fucking believe in. And by the way, that's why they exploit it. That's why Republicans exploit it all the fucking time. By literally, watch the RNC. Like, we watched the RNC. There were hella black people on the RNC. They spend most of their time talking about how Donald Trump is not racist. Like, I grew up in, I grew up in a sharecropping household, and, I know what real racism is like. That's an individual problem. And Donald Trump is not racist. Like, so why? They do that all the time. Just like Democrats do that shit all the time too. They're like, look, we're gonna put a black woman in the Supreme Court, or we're gonna make a black woman the vice president. And that stuff is good. It can be important for people from that background to see someone in such a high position of power in such a high place. So that's good. It motivates people. But regardless of that, it's like it doesn't fucking matter. When you do that and that's the end all be all of your argument, then your argument sucks. Karen Bass and Barbara Lee are leftists comparing them to Candace Owens is completely nuts. No, I think you missed the part where I said, first of all, they're not leftists, but they are way more progressive than the average congressperson. And I think you missed the part of the argument where I said this kind of identity politics sometimes works in favor of progressive causes every now and then. AOC is one of those instances where like that is a instance where like that kind of liberal interest in someone being from a particular background that actually does work in favor of like AOC, for example. You know, AOC replaced the old white man. Great. It worked in favor of Deb Haaland. It would have worked in favor if it was Karen Bass or Barbara Lee. Those are good choices for that position. So I don't have a problem with that at all. I'm saying that those picks would have been good. But the argument isn't like replace like if I were to make that, if I were to say like I think these are good people to put in this position of power. Okay? I think these are good people to put into to appoint to the seat. I don't make that argument around, oh, it's because they're black women and they're replacing a black woman. I make that argument around these are progressive people. And I think that a deep blue state deserves a deep blue senator. It is fucking preposterous that California does not have more progressive senators and especially more progressive senators, but even more progressive fucking congresspersons. Like, it's ridiculous. But that's my argument. My argument isn't like, oh, this is a black woman, so we got to replace her with a black woman. Like, if I had the opportunity, if I had a magic wand and I was like, do you want Obama to be the president or you want Bernie to be president? Of course I'm going to fucking pick Bernie. Not because I'm a racist, because I think Bernie is a more progressive person than Barack Obama. He absolutely is. And his policies, which would have been difficult to fucking implement regardless, and I'm not talking about all that other back end shit, but his policies and his advocacy would have been better for America than Barack Obama's. Like 100%. Understand? Your background, to me at least, and I think to most people, but like to most progressives, your background is only as important as your advocacy. Your worldview and your point of view and your opinions and your experience is only as important to me as far as it guides your worldview and your ideology and the actions that you take in a position of power towards progress. Sorry, I'm not going to fucking sit here and lie to you and be like, oh, as long as there is a black woman in that seat, it's going to be great. In this particular instance, though, the two main black women that they were advocating for were good. They were progressive. Anyway, the reason why I went over this again was because The reason why I wanted to describe this is because I forget that there is a lot of people that like trickle in and come in and out of this community. And there's been a lot of new people in the community since the elections. And I think that this is a fundamental worldview that I have that I think they need to understand, and that I'm not like, and that this isn't like a regular liberal program where I churn out that same kind of fucking worldview and propaganda that you're used to, where you think like, oh, well, you know, we gotta have a black woman in the position of a black woman. Like, we gotta have a black woman replace a black woman. Like, no, I think that's silly. You guys got nothing but anti-wokeness now that Biden is elected. Numbers dip will be glorious. I think, first of all, if I were to use like anti-wokeness as an argument, despite the fact that I do advocate for what you would otherwise consider woke causes, I would probably make a lot more money. Like, anti-wokeness blew the fuck up under Obama, and it's going to blow up again. So, you know, that is definitely an area of, that is definitely an area that will make a lot of money for a lot of content creators. Be on the lookout for the pushback from, you know, anti-social justice warrior style commentary again. That's what's going to blow the fuck up under Joe Biden, because Joe Biden himself commits these microaggressions routinely, but then the largely neoliberal media will overlook that and will rarely ever say anything about that, but then apply these rigorous and high and insane standards to like every other person that they've declared outside of that neoliberal bubble. And you will 1000% without a shred of doubt, you will see a lot of anti-SJWs blow the fuck up. And for those of you who say like, I'm going to turn into Tim Pool, my opinion has not changed throughout the year, or like my core principles have not changed throughout the years. You might be paying more attention to it, and you might have an opportunity to hear me out. But it's not like I went from fucking, you know, Republican to or a conservative person to a liberal person, or a conservative person to a leftist. Like, I've been this kind of leftist for a very long time. A lot longer than you have been interested in politics personally. And I've been this kind of person back when you were probably a Nazi on the internet. You know what I mean? So, like, just because your current point of view is now like neoliberal or some shit like that, where you align with the Democratic Party, does not mean that like my position has adjusted. Thank you for the woke idpol leftism blew up under Trump. What? Idpol leftism? No. There's always a reaction. There's always a fucking look. Wait, hold on. Thank you for the 100 big ones, brother. Char's 12. Thank you for the 100 subs. It's crazy. Anyway. It became bigger during the beginning of Trump? No, it was rising. The anti-SJW rhetoric, the anti-like SJW, anti-IDPOL rhetoric on the right grew originally under the Obama administration. It grew partially under the Obama administration because under the Obama administration, people recognize like, oh fuck, we have literally no power. We have no power in the political arena. Obama's not going to do shit. But we do have one area of power where we can kind of make material changes, like minor changes. What area is that? Oh, that area is culture. So people started organizing their activism or whatever they perceive to be activism around changing fucking movies and yelling about TV shows and whatnot. So that started getting really fucking annoying, and it's still really fucking annoying if you ask me. Sorry, whatever. But that started blowing the fuck up under Obama. We stopped focusing on like anti-imperialist protests. We stopped focusing on like banking regulation and advocacy in that realm. And the neoliberal agenda on the political realm took root. Everyone started focusing on these like minor these like representative politics that represented the end all be all of politics. And that's pretty much it. So there were a bunch of reactionaries fucking turned around and used that to shit on the left in its entirety. Okay? And we're going to get back to that now. Yeah. The only space that the left, and I mean like the left, the capital L left, so it even includes like liberals and Democrats, right? Like the left side of the political spectrum, the only area of power that they had was in the realm of art and culture. So they hyper focused on the area that they could clean up as best as they could. So that's what they do. And that's what they're going to go back to. And there's going to be a lot of need and a lot of interest for a reaction to that. And that's where anti-SJW YouTubers come back into the fray, so they can make it seem as though, seem like, the random like Tumblr kiddies that are putting together a movement to, I don't know, fucking fire Trevor Noah or some shit because he said something that was a microaggression against like ace people. That's gonna fucking piss off a bunch of people in the margins who don't pay attention to this shit at all. And those people are going to pay attention to others that have similar points of view that they do and find themselves at the throes of sharks who then feed them reactionary politics. This is exactly what happened with all of these centrist people that became alt-right. There are a lot of you in here. There are a lot of you in here right now. Like, that used to be that way. Why are you focusing on this irrelevant bullshit? I mean, it's irrelevant. It's irrelevant right now because right now, we're still in the lame duck session. It's no longer going to be irrelevant when that's all you fucking talk about in the next 4 years. I'm just telling you what's going to happen. The reason why AidPol is such a big driver in America is because people experience their racial or other identities to a much greater degree than class identities, which are pretty destroyed due to there being no class consciousness. There's a reason why the biggest mass protest in America in recent years has been stuff like BLM or even the Women's March. Yeah. Well, it's also the only area that you can organize that doesn't immediately attack like the class order. A rich woman still can be impacted by a rich woman can still be impacted by the gendered hierarchy of patriarchy